right, everybody. It is 7 o'clock. Let's get started on a regular meeting. In accordance with the order of the Office of the Governor issued on March 16, 2020, the City Council of the City of Cotulla, Texas will hold a regular meeting at the Alexander Convention Center, 290 North IH 35, Access Road, Cotulla, Texas, 78014, at 7 p.m. on Thursday, November 12, 2020. Council will have the option to attend in person or by conference call. The citizens of Cotulla will also be able to listen to the meeting by video conference. Public comments only will be accepted in writing no later than 30 minutes in advance of the meeting by sending them to City Secretary Bianca Maldonado at bianca.citysecretary@gmail.com. Moving on to roll call. Looks like everybody's here again, so thank you very much for being here. Will everybody please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Citizens to be heard. In order to limit the number of people in attendance per Governor's order, public comments will only be accepted in writing no later than 30 minutes in advance of the meeting by sending them to City Secretary Bianca Maldonado at biancam.citysecretary@gmail.com. City Council cannot discuss nor present issues, nor may any action be taken on any given issues at this time. We only have one citizens to be heard. It is Ty Snowden, November 6, 2020. This letter was sent to us to the Mayor, Jose Javier Garcia, City Administrator, Larry Dovalina, and the City of Cotulla Council. This purpose of this letter is to officially challenge the results of November 3rd, 2020 election. The following descriptions have been alleged, and I asked that the canvass of the Alderman Place 1 be put on hold until full investigation is complete. Votes made by citizens who lived outside the Cotulla city limits. Votes may be unregistered voters, citizens who voted twice in the election by mail or in person. It is to my understanding that there are over 40 votes already in question. And with the facts that the race for place 1 was only a difference of 28 votes, I feel it is my duty to make sure results are fair and accurate. If any of these allegations turned out to be true, I would ask that the invalid votes be thrown out and for a recount to occur. Sincerely, Ty Snowden. That is the only citizens to be heard. Ms. Secretary, do we have any other citizens to be heard? No. Moving on to item number 6, approval of minutes, October 8th, 2020, October 22nd, 2020. Councilman, did you have a chance to review the minutes?
Yes.
Ms. City Secretary, was there any changes done on the minutes? No. If there is no changes and no discussion on the minutes, I need a motion to approve item number 6, which is the minutes. I need a first motion.
So movement.
First motion made by Mr. Lopez. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ayala, Mr. Gilbert Ayala. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 7, discussion and possible action on a resolution of the City of Cotulla certifying the election results of the general election held in the City of Cotulla, Lasalle County, Texas, on November 3rd, 2020. So do the next one. Number 8, swearing in the administration of the oath to the new city council members Place 1, Place 2, and
Yeah,
the
Mayor,
mayor.
did we approve the,
Did you get a motion on the first resolution?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
You need to get a motion.
On item number 7, if there was no discussion on the general election held on November 3rd, 2020, I need a first motion to certify the election, which is to approve item number 7.
So
I need a
moved.
first motion made by Mr. Garcia. I need a second by Mr. Gonzalez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Councilman. Moving on to item number 8, the swearing in and the administration of oaths to the new city councilman members, Place 1, Place 2, and the mayor.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Reynaldo Garcia,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I have not directly or indirectly
that I have not directly or indirectly
paid, offered, promised to pay,
paid, offered, promised to pay,
contributed, or promised to contribute
contributed, or promised to contribute
any money or thing of value,
any money or thing of value,
or promised any public office or employment
or promise any public office or employment
for the giving or withholding of a vote
for the giving or withholding of a vote
at the election at which I was elected,
at the election at which I was elected,
or as a reward to secure my appointment or confirmation,
or as a reward to secure my appointment or confirmation,
whichever the case may be.
whichever the case may be.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I state your name,
I, Reynaldo Garcia,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office of Alderman Place 1
of the office of Alderman Place 1
of the state of Texas,
of the state of Texas,
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my abilities,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Eloy Sartuche,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear,
that I have not directly or indirectly
not indirectly or indirectly
paid, offered, promised to pay,
paid or promised to pay,
contributed, or promised to contribute
contributed or promised to contribute,
any money or thing of value,
or any money or thing of value,
or promised any public office or employment
or any public office or employment,
for the giving or withholding of a vote
or giving or holding of a vote
at the election at which I was elected,
at the election I was elected,
or as a reward to secure
or as a reward to secure
my appointment or confirmation,
or appointment confirmation,
which the case may be.
which the case may be,
So help me God.
to help me God.
I state your name,
I, Lord Cotulla,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
to faithfully execute the duties
of the office of Alderman Place 2
of the office of Alderman 2
of the state of
of
Texas,
the state of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United
of the
States
United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm ready, I think.
I state your name,
I, Jose Javier Garcia,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I have not directly or indirectly
that I have not directly or indirectly
paid, offered, promised to pay,
paid, offer, or promised to pay,
contributed, or promised to contribute
contributed, or promised to contribute
any money or thing of value,
any money or thing of value,
or promised any public office or employment
or promised any public office or employment
for the giving or withholding of a vote
for the giving or withholding of a vote
at the election at which I was elected,
at the election which I was elected,
or as a reward to secure my appointment or confirmation,
or as a reward to secure my confirmation or appointment,
whichever the case may be.
whichever the case may be.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I state your name,
I, Jose Javier Garcia,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office of mayor
of the office of mayor
of the state of Texas,
of the state of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United
the
States
Constitution and laws of the United States
and of this state.
and of this state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mayor.
Thank you. Now I'm going to present a plaque to our formal to-be councilman, Mr. Gilbert Ayala. With the greatest appreciation presented to the Councilman Henry Ayala, thank you for the many years of dedicated and service to the citizens of the city of Cotulla from 2006 to 2020. Thank you very much. I'm sure that the citizens of Cotulla will really appreciate it. I have appreciated your time.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I want to thank for those new elected officials, the city councilmen. I wish you the best and congratulations again. Second of all, I want to thank the citizens of Cotulla, Texas, for giving me this long journey as being your city councilman in Cotulla. And again, it's been a pleasure being a member. I'm going to miss the city employees. They did an outstanding job. And every mayor, every city councilman in the past, regardless if some of y'all are not here, but I want to congratulate every one of y'all. If it wasn't for y'all, we wouldn't have a city that we have right now. And I hope that we continue progressing like we are. Let's go forward, not backwards. You know, this is what we're looking for. And again, we have a great city government, one of the best that I can see in South Texas. And again, thank you, every one of you.
Next, Mr. Lopez. With the greatest appreciation presented to Councilman Estanislao, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name. Estanislao Tanis Lopez. Thank you for the many years of dedication and service to the citizens of the city of Catoola. 2016, and 2020. Thank you so much for your service. I know that the citizens of Cotulla have greatly appreciated that you take your time to be here with us, and I'm sure that they appreciated the decisions that you've made have been a moral of progress in our city. So again, thank you for the years of service. Yes.
I'd like to thank the citizens of Cotulla, especially the voters, for coming out and showing that you're interested in the voting rights of each and every one of you. I appreciate every single one that came out to vote, whether they voted for me or not. I appreciate everybody, and I'd like to thank you for using your right to vote and voicing your opinions. Thank you.
I haven't gone through all of them, but I've skimmed a couple. I've skimmed it, so I'm trying to see what I can
Excellent.
pick up here.
These are just reports on how our departments are doing anyways. So hopefully, we all want to know what our water department is doing, what our animal control, and et cetera, et cetera. So this is for us to know what's going on. That way we can inform our public.
Okay.
And if you have any questions, you just need to call the office and we'll explain whatever it is that you may need additional information on.
Sounds
I
good.
just want to address David. David, I want to thank you for getting that container picked up. Yes. Yeah, they did it the next day. Yeah, thank you for that.
Any other comments or discussion on any of the reports?
I've been noticing, Mr. Dovalina, patches that have been done, like at Cash and Carry, pretty good. Toward the sewer plant, good. Nice patch. Real professional.
All right, moving on to item number 9. Item number 9, the discussion and possible action on the resolution of the City of Cotulla, Texas, accepting the improvements of water well number 9, including well drilling, pump, and chemical treatment facilities as proved as approved by the Texas Commission of Environmental Quality.
Let me ask David to come in and for the new council members, to give an update of what this project is all about and what it means to the city and the future of the city. And he can explain in detail what we're doing.
I'm sure that everybody wants to know also why we drilled for another water well. David, if you can touch up on how long, what is the age of our water wells that we've had in Cotulla, and why we're doing the new ones?
Okay. I guess the best starting place would be 2011. At that point in time, we had 3 water wells in town. One that was built in 1975, one that was built in 1982, and the third one that was built in the 1960s. At that time, the way the wells were designed is they go down 2,300 feet or 2,600 feet, depending on which one it is, and they have an area where they scope in. At around 900 to 1,000 feet, depending on what well it is, they scope in. So between the period of 2008 and 2011, the oil field arrived in Cotulla. When the oil field arrived in Cotulla, our water levels started dropping significantly. At that point, in 2011, our water table was at 230 feet. 230 feet, it dropped down to say, I believe it was in the 380 feet. And this was around 2014, 2015. We had to extend our pumps down. We extended our pumps down as far as we could go, which would have been either 900 to 1,000 feet. 2017, we ended up with a water table over 500 feet, 520 feet. What happens at that point when a water well runs, when we turn a water well on at 1,100 gallons a minute, you say the static level is 520 feet, the pump turns on, we lose 200 feet immediately. So we're 520, 620, 720 feet. What ends up happening is that the water gets too close to the pump, starts drawing air. And when that happens, you start to incur electrical problems, you destroy pumps, a lot of different things break down. And really, that's where we are today. And in 2015, we recognized the issue, and we designed and we built a water well on Cherokee Street, between Cherokee and Choctaw. That went in service in 2017. In that period, the 3 water wells that we had currently running were problematic. They were constantly breaking down, constantly having issues, constantly replacing pumps, just because the water table had fallen so far that it couldn't keep up. We built the 1 well, and then we realized that we still needed 1 more after that. We needed a 2nd well, which was built in 2019. It was put into service this year in 2020. The other 3 water wells, 1 is no longer in service, and we still have 2 running at a reduced rate. We produced 1,100 gallons a minute out of all of our wells for years, and as the water table fell, we tried to stop the drawdown, the 200-foot of drawdown, so we lowered the gallons. So today, our main well at the courthouse is at 400 gallons a minute, from 1,100, 1,200 gallons a minute. Also, the Buckley well is at 600 gallons a minute. This all plays a factor with demand. How much water can we get out of the ground to serve the people? So when we can't pull enough water out of the ground, we have to do something pretty quickly and figure it out. And that's what the city did. So we have a new water well on Dovey and Ramirez across from the fire station, and we have a new one at Cherokee Street. And we are currently still using the 2 other older wells. But it's at anybody's guess how long that'll last. If water levels continue to drop in Cotulla, we continue to have high production coming out from the oil field and it drops, it's going to make those wells to where they're just going to draw air and they're not going to run anymore. So the city has been proactive, and they've built 2 wells, which those 2 wells can handle our demand today. So in the future, there's no telling. But it's been a lot of late nights, and it's been an emergency situation for a lot of years, just trying to get all this done.
Would you talk about the construction of the new wells and how that differs
Yeah.
from the old construction and why the difference in cost?
Okay, the water well that was put into service in 2017, that water well has a 2,600 foot hole into our aquifer, and it runs 100 feet more through our aquifer. That water well there has a 26-inch case, where our old water wells, they only had a 11.75-inch case that scoped in. This new one here goes to 2,600 feet at 26-inch case. So the city has the ability to put a pump all the way through the aquifer if they needed to. So, there's no limitation anymore on that well. The well that was put into service this year in 2020, it has a 16-inch case, and that is also running down to 2,600 feet. So we don't have no limitation no more. We can go all the way down, and we can pull water from all the way to the bottom of the aquifer. So, which of course we can't do from our old ones.
And talk about the chemical treatment that needs to
Okay.
be added to the water.
Yep. When this goes back to Michigan, what happened in Michigan several years ago with lead in the water system. The nation saw that and they saw the issue, and all the states in the nation decided that we're going to have to do something to kind of mitigate this issue, whether there is an issue or not in the state or the city. Well, the one that was put into service in 2017, they had us do a chemical addition of phosphates. The phosphate, what it does is it creates a coating around any line, PVC, any type of water line we have in the system, so that nothing from the water line can leach into the water and go to your house. This is also relevant for customers' service lines. If on their property they have old iron lines or anything like that, it will not allow the lead, copper, whatever else is in the line to leach into our water. This was done only because of what happened in Michigan, and they're having pretty much everybody do it now when they build a new well. So the well from 2017, that's been implemented, and the new one from 2020, that has been implemented.
Are they both at 1,100?
Gallons a minute. The one on Dobie Road is set at 1,100 gallons a minute. Yes, they are both. The one over there on Cherokee is running between 1,000 and 11. So, and that's all dependent on water level. As it drops, the gallons will drop.
Tell them about the challenges about 2 years ago when our pump started sucking air, and how close we were of losing water.
Okay.
Our water.
That was a very big challenge. It was on a weekend, on a Saturday, or actually on a Sunday. I got a call that the gentleman that was going to check out our water well system told me that he had 2 water wells that weren't working. And mind you, at that time we only had 3 operational. The new 2017 well was not online yet. So what happened? We went out on site and we found out we had 2 burnt pumps. They were just totally, the copper impeller and the pumps were just totally thrashed. They were gone, and it ran up through the line. The city was left with 1 water well that had the ability to pump 700 gallons a minute, about a little over 1 million gallons in a 24-hour period. And our demand was 2 million gallons for that day at that time. The decision was made at that time that the 2017 well was put into service, because we lost 2 wells in one day, and that's catastrophic for a city. So the way we mitigated the problem is we put the new water well into service, and then we still had one that was running. Water levels dropped very significantly, very quickly. It was so quick that we didn't even catch it. And that's really what happened. We could have ran out of water. We were maybe 2 hours away. So, and then on the weekend, there's nobody to notify as far as state entities. So we had to make a decision, and we put it online. We were actually waiting for an approval for the phosphate implementation. And I actually called the state Monday, and I told them what we had to do, and they're like, no problem, we completely understand. And they gave us a 30-day extension on the phosphate that we were putting into the water. And we made it through it, barely. But these kind of issues, over the years, we've had sporadic issues like this, 1 well at a time, or here and there. This one here, 2 in one day, it was just, we were 24 hours.
This is the,
trying to juggle the water.
David, is that new well already hooked up to the main lines and in operation?
Are you
Yes.
talking about well 9 at the fire
9,
station?
yes, it is.
That one's
It is?
been in service for a month.
Okay.
Yes, it's running and without issue. And that well there is a direct injection. The water comes out of the ground, it gets treated, and goes directly to the system. Where our other wells, we have ground storage tanks.
At some point in the future, you're gonna put a ground storage tank at that location, and that's why we needed the additional property at the location that was approved by council at some period in time. And so we intend in the future to have a storage tank, ground storage tank at that location. We do have, and today, we received approval on the plans and specs for the new water tower, and there is a new water tower that is gonna be built at the Public Works Yard in the area toward the back. And we will have a 250,000, is it 250? 200,000 water storage tank to increase the amount of storage that we had. But in the last 3 or 4 years, you basically have had a revamp of your entire water system, or at least your pumping and storage capacity that is going on. If you remember the dates that he discussed as far as the ages of the old water wells, one was a 1960, one was a 1970, and the other one was a 1982. So one of the wells is over 40 years old. We're still using it because we can still get some water out of it, but it's at a reduced level. And the other location, which is the Boutwell well, is also there. And the other well that was, I want to say it's 6 or 7, was replaced by the new one that we did on Choctaw. And then the new water well now that went online is a complete addition to the amount of water that we currently produce in the city. When you get into the situations that David talked about, the Texas Water Development Board requires you to have a conservation plan. And in order to meet the capacities, not only did we have to scramble to make sure that our systems were all working, but that we instituted a conservation plan so that people would use less water and reduce the capacity. And we were very successful in reducing our consumption on a daily basis, going from 2 million to like 1.2 million, which was something that the citizens of the community need to be thanked for their diligence in trying to conserve the water and making sure that we didn't suffer the lack of water shortages that many cities around us actually had during this period of time. But it was due diligence by the mayor and the council, allowing staff to make sure that these things were going on and that we were continuing to upgrade the water system.
yes, sir.
And the storages that you were saying, is that the new location on Buckley Street for new storages to be?
Where?
In Buckley? Where y'all,
Buckley.
the city bought that property? Is that the area?
The
that it?
The Buckley,
Buckley?
yeah,
The Buckley, yes, I'm
Yes.
sorry, I had
Yes,
the
it
wrong
is.
street.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
It's a Buckley well.
What size do you think that y'all gotta put there? What size of tanks?
no, he's talking about, across from the fire station, Ramirez and Dovey.
That,
We're gonna
that
put the
location,
ground
but
floor
also
tank.
where the property on Buckley is.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that area.
That one also, I believe the city has acquired another property there, and the main reason for that is we have a lot of infrastructure on that property, and we have nowhere to drill a new well.
Correct.
So we needed to extend that property there so we could drill a new water well, because that's that's your 1982 well that's already been reworked 3 times.
Okay.
And we're actually currently reworking it as we speak. And we're gonna do a startup on that one on Monday this week.
And
Start
we
flushing.
actually have redone the groundwater storage tank.
Yes.
At that location, we redid the floor and we did the steel on it, on the inside of it. We repainted it, cleaned it up, and I want to say we did it about 3 or 4 years ago.
That's correct. That was about 2014. We did a McGuire Iron.
And the new water towers going over by the yard, by the across the street, the old Little League field?
At Guadalupe Street?
Right,
On the corner.
on the corner.
Claire, you might want to mention the requirement for the sanitary control easements as well as for the reasons we have to purchase.
One of the things that we've had some issues with at different water locations is that when you do a water well, Texas Water Development Board requires you to have something called a sanitary easement. And what that sanitary easement is that you will not allow any activity that can potentially contaminate the wells. And so you have to have a certain distance from the well that is clear space. And in some instances, the city did not have that. And so we have acquired, at the Buckley well, we have acquired, if you remember, there was an old house or trailer that was back there. We acquired that piece of property going to the back in order to be able to give it some sanitary space. And now we have acquired, or are acquiring, the additional property to the side in order to give it the well protection as we move forward in trying to fix it. The new well that's on Dobie also has the same thing, where we had already 2 properties. We acquired 2 additional properties because in the future we're going to put a ground storage tank, and we want to make sure that nobody is close to the water well so that it won't get contaminated at any point in the future.
This is why, one of the reasons that we've been very careful with the monies that come into our city. That's why we've done streets in phases as well, because we need to take care of our water and make sure that we have water. And it's very expensive, as you know. How much was the cost of well number 9?
Well, number 9's cost was $2.78 million.
What about the other well?
2017 well was just over $3 million.
Was it 3.5 or 3.8, sir?
Yes, but in the well number 9, when we applied for a loan from Texas Water Development Board, we got a $600,000 grant that helped us pay for that water well. And the resolution that you currently now have on the agenda is accepting the water well that's currently operating so that we can begin to close out the project and make sure that all of the monies that need to be reimbursed back to the city will be reimbursed. We did have some cash that we paid up front for that well that's going to be reimbursed by the loan, and so that money will go back into the fund. I want to say it's general fund. That money will go back into the general fund.
And that's just some of the grants that we've gotten through the Water Development Board. We've gotten, 2, sir? Through the Water Development Board? When we've gotten bonded?
There are several grants that are tied into the monies that we borrowed, and so they take into consideration the economic activity within the community, and they grade you based on that, and that's how they determine how much money they will give you in a grant according to the amount of money that you're borrowing.
And by give, he means forgiveness. In other words, if you ask for 10 million and they give you 3, that's a forgiveness of 3 million, you know. So it's very good that our city has, I don't think our city has ever applied for anything like that, and we've managed to get 2 within a period of about 7 years.
Yes.
7 years. So we're doing something right here in our city, and with the savings to our community as well. Any further discussion on item number 9,
David.
Councilman?
Yes, sir.
Have you gotten any samples from that water?
You're talking about the one on Ramirez?
9.
Nine.
On 9, yes, that's correct. Yeah, we had samples, everything came back clear. So, we initially, when the wells, before it's open, we do 3 consecutive samples on 3 consecutive days, and all 3 have to pass. And we will continue, if we have one fail, we have to start over and continue to do that until we get 3 passing samples.
The same thing will happen with the new water line
Yes.
that is going on. Before the water line gets into service, the contractor has to do the 3 tests. They have to be negative all 3 times before you actually put the water line into operation.
We're actually gonna have to do that on the Buckley well too, and we're gonna start on Monday. But what we're gonna do is we have to flush the well out for a week.
Oh, okay.
So you're gonna see a considerable amount of water running down the road until we get good quality water coming out, and then we'll start sampling. It's probably gonna be a 2-week process of water running down the road.
When we drill again, sir, will we go 2,600 feet again? Or?
Yeah, all the new wells are going to 2,400 feet, which is where the core is.
A lot of depth.
Oh, yeah.
Councilman, any further discussion or any questions on item number 9?
Well, this letter is to accept, no?
Yeah, it's to accept.
Yes, to accept. So I
But
need
you
a
have to make
motion.
a motion.
I need a motion to accept item number 9.
So moved.
First motion by Mr. Gonzalez, second by Mr. Garcia. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 10, discussion and possible action on an ordinance of the City of Cotulla, Texas, rezoning Lot 6-8, Block 6 of the Juan M. Rodriguez addition from Class B Single Family Residence District to Class F Retail Business District as prescribed by Code of Municipal Ordinances, City of Cotulla, Section 58-5, Amendments, Declaration of a Public Purpose, incorporating recitals, providing for severability, and setting an effective date.
Mayor, this is just the ordinance that the city would approve if it approves the rezoning of these 2 lots in Block 6. We've had the required public hearings. This is I've said it more than once, but it's a recurring issue in the city of Catoola that we have issues with our zoning code. The applicant, I don't recall his name,
He's sitting here in the back.
had indicated that he's gonna open an auto shop there, like a mechanics type shop, and there doesn't seem to be an issue with the neighbors. But we do have many areas in this city that are not in compliance with our zoning code. And as Larry has informed the council before, in order to do the required amendments in the older areas of the city, the new areas are fine. Up in the Las Palmas area, what have you, that will require significant expenditure of funds, and it's something to do in the future. But it is an issue that's going to continue to arise because you've got areas of the city where you do have commercial and you've had it for long periods of time, but that are still not zoned properly, and unfortunately, what happens is the individuals who want to comply with the law are the ones that are put through the hoops to do it, and yet we have many places where they're not doing it.
Excellent. Any discussion, Councilman? Any questions?
Is there any consequences on rezoning?
There are. I'll let Larry address it. He's
What kind of consequences are you?
Taxes, are they gonna go up
No,
for the residents? or-
the appraisal of the property isn't affecting the adjoining properties. It doesn't spill out that way. Basically, you determine the value of the lot according to what the use of the lot is. So you could have a lot that actually has a higher value than another if it's an income producing property, but the spillover from the income producing property doesn't spill over to the adjoining property. If the other property is a residential, then it gets appraised in a different basis.
one of the things that I've seen done where you've had issues where you've got a lot of non-conforming uses, which is what those are called, when you're operating you're using a piece of land not in conformity with the zoning requirement, is a lot of times the city will redo its zoning map and just rezone the whole area. And those areas that are not conforming will be given a certain period of time to become conforming uses. And typically that's a period of several years. But as Larry and I have discussed, in order to do that, the city has to have a comprehensive plan, which is a requirement of the law. And I've seen these things cost $300,000-$400,000 for a document that nobody ever uses. And I'm being honest. It sits on a shelf and I say, yeah, we checked the box and we did it.
Right.
And I don't know where this project is something really for the future. And I do want to comment on the fact that the newer areas, Las Palmas, all of these hotels, they're fine. It's just some of the other areas, and I do admire the fact that you do have citizens that come in here knowing that there are a lot of places that really aren't following the rules, and yet they seek to come in and they want to follow the law.
Because they want to do things the right way.
Right. So this place is going to be a tire shop, or what is it going to be?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez, you want to say something?
Because we're not going to allow our 18-wheelers to go out there. Tire
If you
shop.
look at the Code of Ordinances,
We
it
don't
will,
allow them in our city.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tire shop. Want to do inspections and sell tires, fix flats, oil changes, and just serve our own community. After hours, tops 8:30. And once again, people getting out of work, and sometimes a lot of people don't have time to get their oil changed, to go and buy tires or fix a flat or everything like that. They have to pay road service to their houses, and they're charging like $60-$80, and I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna charge a reasonable price, that I can help our own community, especially people from in town,
No 18-wheelers.
No 18-wheelers. It's gonna be like the road services and everything like that, That's why I'm gonna put a number. And yes, sir.
I had a question. So when you think about the future of your business that you're trying to start, is that the location you would permanently want your business? Is that why you're trying to get it rezoned? Or are you maybe in the future thinking, let me get someplace where I'd have more customers, like near 35 or something?
Right now, I'm gonna start right there, and I let the whole future take its way, Maybe switching somewhere else, maybe out here and everything like that. But I gotta start somewhere. I live paycheck through paycheck. I work with TxDOT, and I want to do something, I got my insurances, my benefits, and everything like that over here, But I have to. I worked on oil field for 9 years, road construction for a lot of years. I'm 40 years old, and I left the oil field because I wanted benefits. So that's where I came to TxDOT, and I'm doing for myself and for my community. There's, like I said, there's a lot of people like me. I work after 5. I work after 5 o'clock. I work Monday through Thursday right now, and I come out at 5:30. I need a tire fix or something, and everywhere is closed. That's where I come in. If y'all need anything, I'll be open till 8:30, and rock and roll, let's go, And it's like I'm telling you, I'm not here to just to think of myself, because I know how it feels paying after hours or going out of town to just go and get an inspection, go and get an oil change because everywhere is closed. Or there's nothing here on inspections, and want to change them, want to try to change things around, you know, and just there's a lot of people that they don't got good vehicles that, hey, you know what, that they can go out of town. You know, I mean, it's something to work with our community. You know, I was raised here in Cotulla, and plan to stay here in Cotulla and make my living here in Cotulla. So I want to do something right here in Cotulla for myself
I guess
also.
we're just asking because it's a neighborhood.
Yes.
And not to, you know, disrupt it or disturb it as a neighborhood, you know, pero, you know, no problem.
Well, we haven't had anybody come in and speak against it, and you've had at least 2 hearings.
3 with today's.
And I believe all the neighbors were notified within the 200 feet. I don't think there was any objections that were sent to the city. So,
When
I
you
believe he
do,
had a list too of the people that approved it, right?
when you
Yes.
do a zone change for the new councilman, everybody within 200 feet of the proposed area that's being rezoned gets officially notified, and that's why you have the public hearings, in order to give them an opportunity that if they do have an objection, they can come to the meeting and state whatever their objections are. We do have some rezoning cases that are very contentious, and some people get very excited about that. This particular rezone has not elicited that kind of response, and so nobody's really objected to the rezoning. But again, the decision rests within the council.
And how often can you rezone an area? Can it be like every meeting if we wanted to, we could rezone? Or is it, you have, like if we rezone now, do we have to wait a certain amount of time before we could rezone again?
No, you do, you're talking about this particular property?
Well, any particular one. If we're gonna change one from a residential to a business, how long before we could change it back? Or is that possible?
You could change it back to, usually, you could change it back to residential. The answer is yes. Usually the rezones that create the greater response are the ones that are determined to be a more extensive use. And you start with a classification of an A, which is usually the residential. And as you go down the alphabet, the use becomes more intense. So this one is considered to be a neighborhood retail, which I believe is an F that you're changing it to. And if you come into this area and you look at the maps around this area, where the motels are, the highway, all these other uses, those are usually a G. And so you're going down the scale. So the activity becomes more commercial, more heavily commercial, till you get to an H. An H is an industrial use. And usually that's where you have truck yards, where you have other areas that are much noisier, and you want to create a buffer between those areas and the residential neighborhoods. And so that's what you use as a guide to kind of segregate the types of uses that are within the city. The majority of the city is either an A or a B, and those cover all the residential areas.
And then as far as for the purposes that he would like, is the only way for him to run his business legally to rezone it? Or is
Yes.
there maybe like a permit
No.
that could be temporarily?
No, you cannot issue a permit. We don't have that capability. In some cities, there are exceptions where you do something called an SUP. It's a special use permit, but typically cities try not to do that because it creates other issues, and you can be accused of cherry picking certain things by doing that. And so what you try to do is you try to have a comprehensive outlook as to how you want a certain area to develop, and that's how you determine the zoning uses. As council members, you are looking out for the citizens of the community, and you're making that determination. So when you decide that that is what you want to do, you either vote in favor or you vote against. It's entirely your choice, and usually it's based on the reaction by the neighborhood to the proposed zone change or the use that is currently there. The items that Steve is talking about, where you have uses that have been in place for many, many years, those are grandfathered because of the fact that they've been there for years, We don't know when those were done or not. We have a very old zoning map that we use as a guide. And we do have, as he said, in the future, a greater task of going back and actually creating a map that reflects the actual current use of properties in the city. Your current zoning map does not reflect that.
I'm just asking questions, Mr. Rodriguez, because, you know, probably like in the future, maybe residents will complain with noise, traffic, and guess where they're gonna come in with the city?
They're gonna come.
Hey, mucho traffic, I mean, that's why I'm asking. You know, if you're gonna keep it, kind of blend in with the neighborhood, you know, it's quiet.
Yes, that's why.
That's my
yeah.
concern, let's go.
That's why I'm gonna keep it till 8:30 because if I could, I would go out, we'll be open late, but like it's the neighborhood and everything like that, you know, kids sleep at 9 o'clock and everything like that, you know, and so I want to keep it in a reasonable reason that a lot of people get out of work or to get out early from a job or everything like that, you know. They can work till 5:30, 6 o'clock and come out, hey, you know what? I have a place that I can go and get my car, you know, oil change or anything, you know. Fix their own flats or buy tires or anything, you know, inspections or something. So I want to help out people from our community because I know how it feels like, you know, and that's our plans that I got.
To answer the councilman's question, there is no limit. He just has to meet the requirements of the ordinance in order to get the rezoning.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was just asking because let's say we approve it now and then come a couple meetings later, we have complaints and then we could.
The idea is, as Mr. Dovalina has explained, is you're supposed to have your zoning that follows a plan.
Mm-hmm. How you plan the city to develop.
And that's what we haven't had for a long time, but it's very expensive and there's other things that need to be done, like water, sewer, roads, and stuff like that. And it is something I think that's on a wish list of things to do. But I do want to reiterate that it is correct around here. So all of these guys here are compliant. You know, the hotels, the Chatro and all those places there. It's just the older areas of town where there's an issue.
What we've also done is when you want to make a law in the city, as long as it doesn't conflict with state or federal laws, you create something called an ordinance. And you as a council are the local legislative body. So you are empowered to create the laws, and those are the laws that govern the community locally. So it's a local law that you do. The zoning law is a local law that you do. The rates that you charge, the different things that you do, the complaints that you get for different items throughout the city, like public nuisance with trash, with rubbish, with dilapidated houses, that type of thing. You have ordinances that have been created in the city from the very first time that it was ever incorporated, which I think is 1910. And all of those laws are compiled in a book. It's a black book. It's called the Code of Ordinances. You can access it online. We're online with that ordinance. And each one of you, we have ordered some books that have the current ordinances in place, and they're divided by sections. And it will give you about animals, it'll give you about dwellings, it'll give you all sorts of things. One of the things that is in there that was not existent before is something called a subdivision ordinance. When we initially started getting all of these people that were coming in with the hotels and motels and the taco palenques of the world and all these things, we wanted to make sure that those people that were coming in would not use up the capacity of the infrastructure, water, sewer, that was in the city at the time. And so that subdivision ordinance that was created not only dictated the commercial areas that were going to be designated as commercial areas, but it also said that they had to put in certain size water lines at their cost, certain streets at their cost. And those things did not exist before. So as the city grew many years ago, the city allowed many people who owned pieces of land to subdivide the land and never put in the infrastructure. So in the older parts of the city, many of the things that we're currently doing today is fixing that infrastructure that should have been placed there when the city was originally built. If you go into certain parts of town were laid out properly. But you go to other parts of town and there's a little black plastic pipe, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there's a little black plastic pipe that's in different homes and in different areas that was used that is typically not used anywhere else. And those are the things that David and his crew are out there replacing almost on a daily basis. When you see leaks, probably the reason the leaks are there is because those little black pipes are there and they're plastic, they get brittle and they break, and you go in there and fix a leak and you put a clamp and it breaks further up and it breaks further up. So what you end up doing is when you see the black plastic pipe, you go and you take out as big a section as you can so that you eliminate it altogether from our system. And that's almost a daily activity that we go. They may have used it as a cost-saving measure many years ago, but as the saying goes, penny wise, a pound foolish, and that's what we're dealing with. So the subdivision ordinance that we currently have forces new developers to put in everything that's an infrastructure at their cost as they come in. We're currently dealing with Love's truck stop that is going to be built south of town, just as you get to that underpass.
65? Mile marker 65?
Yes, yes. And they're going to build a Love's there, and we're currently working with that company, and they have a raw piece of land, and the only thing that runs through there is a water line and a sewer line. But when they come in, because it is a new piece of property, they're going to have to construct a road, a public road, and they're going to have to pay for it. And when that track comes in, you have two pieces of land, one that's owned by one individual and one that's owned by another individual, and they're going to have to do something called a replat. And they're going to bring that map here, and you're going to look at it, and we're going to look at it as staff, and we're going to tell them, you know, you got to take care of this, you got to put in a detention pond, you have to hold the water, you can't let the water spill over into the highway, you have to put in the public road. If you're going to put in a water line, it has to be a 6-inch line. If you're going to put in a sewer line, it's got to be a certain size line. All of that is in the ordinance. But you're going to make the decisions whether to approve the plat or not approve the plat. And we're going to bring it to you, and it's already prepared coming in. Our engineer will review it, and once we say, okay, he met everything that we asked him, then we bring it to you, and you say yea or nay going forward. And that's how you do development. And all of that is dealt with ordinances. So all of the ordinances that we do, at the end, all go in that book. The book is like a dictionary. It's got different subjects. And if you have a concern about something that is not there, it's something that can be addressed. For instance, we have a sign ordinance, but we have now learned that certain things are not in that sign ordinance that we probably will be bringing to you at the next council meeting. It doesn't talk about political signs. It's something
that we want to amend that ordinance, and we will be bringing that to you at the next council meeting. And so as you see things that you want to change, the way you change them is either by doing an ordinance or amending an ordinance. And that's how you run the city.
Thank you for that.
Any other questions on item number 10? Or any other questions for Mr. Rodriguez? If not, I need a first motion to approve item number 10.
So moved.
Motion.
First motion by Mr. Gonzalez, second by Mr. Garcia. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 11, presentation of financial statements, reports by Mr. Jorge Flores.
Jorge Flores is an accountant who does advisory work for both the county and the city, and has been doing it for some period of time. The city has done very well by his services. I'm not sure how much longer he's gonna keep doing it. I know he's talking about retirement, I guess, as we all get older. But he's done a very good job, and he always does a very good presentation. If you ever have any questions about finances, you can reach him, and he'll be more than glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. First of all, congratulations, Mayor, Mr. Garcia, Mr. Certucha, on your election victory. We prepare several reports for every council meeting, monthly reports. And the first report is the sales tax report. The city collects 2 pennies for every dollar for all taxable sales within the city limits. And 1 penny of that, half of the sales tax is used for the general fund, just general expenditures. 1/4 of the sales tax is used to lower the tax rate of the city. So the city has a 70-cent tax rate. If we did not have this 1/4 cent sales tax, the tax rate would actually be closer to $1. And the other 1/4 percent is for economic development. There's a sales tax for economic development. So the first report, the sales tax, what we do is we have the previous 3 years. We have fiscal year 17-18, and the reason you have the 2 years is because the county is on a fiscal year. Our year starts October 1st and then September 30. So in 17-18, the city collected $1,849,568. The year after that, the city collected $1,894,259. In fiscal year 19-20, which just ended, the city collected $1,666,116. And for the first 2 months of the year, the city has collected $199,624. The sales tax has been hit pretty hard by the pandemic. So the sales tax is going down. We keep hearing the good news about a possible vaccine. Hopefully it's successful and things will turn around soon. The next report is the Hotel Motel tax collection report. And again, we compare the previous 3 years. So in 17-18, the city collected $834,614. The year after that, $1,188,400. And last year, the city collected $803,626. And for the month of October, the city collected $66,424. Hotel motel taxes have also been hit hard by the pandemic. The next report is the statement of revenues and expenditures, and this is for the month of October. And this report has several columns. The first column is current budget. That's just total budget divided by 12 months. The current actual is the actual revenues or expenses for the current month, for the month of October. Then the next column is the annual budget, which is the total budget for the year. The fourth column is the year-to-date actual, and that is the column that we're going to be looking at when this report is presented. And the last column is just the remaining budget, the total budget minus the revenues, total revenues and total expenses. So on page number 1, we have total general fund revenues of $87,213.29. The expenses are broken down by different departments. We have general government expenses. On the next page, we have the fire department, animal control. Page after that, we have streets and parks, municipal court expenses, code enforcement expenses. And then on page number 4, we have total expenditures of $180,067 for a net loss in the month of October of $92,854. Usually at the beginning of every year, expenses tend to outpace revenues, especially in the general fund, because we don't start collecting our ad valorem taxes till November, December, January. The next page is the water sewer fund. Total revenues, $142,386. On page number 6, total expenses of $88,566 for a net profit of $53,819. Page number 7 is the gas fund. Total revenues of $21,976. Total expenses of $15,825 for a net profit of $6,151. On page number 8 is the solid waste fund. Total revenues of $64,926. Expenses of $45,189 for a net profit of $19,736. This is where I usually end my report, but for the benefit of the new council members, I'll go all the way to the end.
Thank you.
The remaining funds are our smaller funds. On page number 9 is the airport operations fund. It did not have any revenue and had expenses of $5,970 for a net loss of $5,970. Now, the reason it doesn't have any revenues, because usually in the first month of the year, most of the funds that we're collecting actually pertain to the prior year. So those revenues get recorded in September, not in October. But it all catches up at the end of the year. Page number 10 is the hotel motel occupancy tax. Again, no revenues. I mean, I just reported that we collected $66,000, but the $66,000 was recorded in September, not in October. So it's showing 0 revenues and $600 in expenses for a net loss of $600. The Economic Development Fund on page number 11 has revenues of $25,628, and that is 1/4 of the total sales tax collected in November. In October, actually. And we have no expenses. The plan for the Economic Development Fund, it's something that has been discussed in previous meetings, is to look for a loan, a street paving loan, and to pay the loan from the Economic Development Fund. That is the plan for this fund. So you're going to see actually very few expenses during the year on the Economic Development Fund. There's some monies accumulated in this fund, but the plan was a street paving project. Page number 12 is the Civic Center Fund. No revenues and expenses of $12,414. The Civic Center Fund gets their money from the Hotel Motel tax fund. So at some point, we'll actually do a transfer from Hotel Motel into the Civic Center Fund. And the same thing on the next page, the Main Street program also received their funding from the Hotel Motel Fund. So they had no revenues in October and total expenses of $9,238. And on page number 14, the 2018 bond refunding is actually the debt service fund. This is where we pay most of our loans from. And they get their money from ad valorem taxes and transfers from other funds. So we had revenue of $5,085, and we have no expenses to date. And the last page just totals all of the funds together. Now I come to the city on average maybe once a week, a little more often during our busy time, like when the audit is being prepared or when the tax rate is being calculated. I'll come more often during those times, but most of the time I come once a week. But if you all have any questions and want to go into more detail over the report, just give me a call and I'll make it a point to be at the office.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jorge.
Councilman, any questions for Mr. Flores on that financial statement report? If not, Mr. Flores, thank you very much for that report.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 12, discussion and possible action to approve the City of Catoola investment policy.
The investment policy is a requirement by the state that county cities have an investment policy. The investment policy basically just kind of outlines the types of investments that the city can have. We currently have no investments. Actually, we have a $5,000 CD at Stockman's. That's our only one. But it is still a requirement to have an investment policy. So the investment policy lists the type of investments that we can do, and also talks about the strategy. And investment policies came about because some cities and counties many years ago were investing their money in the stock market and losing the principal amount. So the investment policy basically states that the first thing we're going to do is preserve the principal of any investment. Then we'll look at the liquidity. If we need the money tomorrow, we should be able to get it tomorrow. Then we'll look at the diversification. We don't want to put all our eggs in one basket. And then fourth, once an investment firm has met the first three criteria, then we'll look at how much interest we can earn. But interest is fourth on the list. And that's basically to protect the principal. And again, this is just a requirement. It needs to be approved on a yearly basis.
Councilman, any questions for Mr. Flores on item number 12?
We didn't have that, we didn't have one of these already?
We did have one, but you have to approve it on an annual basis,
year.
and so it expired. The reason the cities across the state of Texas have an investment policy is because many years ago, the city of Beaumont lost $100 million in some sort of land scheme that was in Florida. And so the state created through the legislature, created an investment policy that all cities had to follow. And this is the result of that investment policy. But even though we do the investment policy, when you do the audits on an annual basis, you're required to present that investment policy, and that's how we caught the thing that had expired.
Any other questions, Councilman? If not, I need a motion to approve item number 12.
So moved.
First motion made by Mr. Juan Garcia. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Certuche. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 13, discussion and possible action to name an investment officer for the city of Cotulla.
In order to have an investment officer for the city of Cotulla, you have to have 10 hours of continuing education credits every year that you have to have. We want to recommend that Jorge Flores be the investment officer and that he comply with the training. It is virtual, so it's easy to get, and he can go ahead and do that particular thing. Depending on the wishes of the council, we recommend that he be appointed the investment officer and that he undergo the training that he needs in order to comply.
Mr. Certuche, you wanted to say something?
No.
Councilman, any questions on that? If not, I need a first motion to approve item number 13. First motion made by Mr. Certuche. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Juan Garcia. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 14, discussion and possible action to proceed with a bid notice preparation and publication for the Pool Street Road and Water Line Project.
Mr. Jorge Martinez from S&B Engineering is going to give that presentation. Council did approve Pool Street and Lane Street, but the Lane Street project has some complications related to drainage, and so we decided to separate that street because we're going to have to look at a different way of addressing that issue. But we wanted to go ahead and proceed with the Pool Street project, and it does include the replacement of the water line that is currently there because it has had several repairs. And so we want to go ahead and replace it, because once you start rolling the street and things like that, if the line is fragile, it's going to all break. And so we prefer to go in at the very beginning, redo the street, and do the paving.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Just Jorge Martinez from S&B Infrastructure. We're the engineering firm that got hired to do this work. Like we typically would do, I'd bring a couple of the set of the drawings that we're looking at getting approval to go out for bids. I'll leave it on the table. I know we're not supposed to be moving around too much, but I'll leave it for everybody that if you wish to see what it looks like. So
Is there a copy for
Yes, he's got plenty of copies.
So this project, as Larry mentioned, we are redoing the road. We're redoing that 6-inch AC line that's in the ground right now. We're going to be replacing that with an 8-inch PVC line. The road's going to be reconstructed. It's a full reconstruction of the road. The condition of we're also going to be doing some drainage improvements adjacent to that existing structure that's there, and put some rails. I know that's one of the big things that when we first noticed was there's no safety rails, so in the event of a you know, the road gets overtopped, it is undersized, that structure is undersized. So at some point when Mustang Creek does develop and the project goes through with what the city's been planning for a couple of years now, it will be replaced, but it's not part of this scope. The engineering estimate for this, for the water line, the road, and the storm is around $810,000. And I also bought some, it's the engineering, expected. So, other than that, it's a standard, you know, roadway reconstruction / water and storm improvements. As you know, the part of the reasons why that road is failing, it does have some drainage issues. There's a lot of potholes. Those are attributed to the drainage of the road. It's not adequately getting out, so we're going to be improving that with some storm drainage, with some curb billets and storm pipes. So, but I can address any questions or anything you may have.
That water line, you said 8-inch?
The existing is a 6-inch AC line. We're gonna be 8-inch.
C900?
Yeah, C900 8-inch
Yeah,
PVC.
it's an 8-inch.
PVC, and that's
We're upgrading.
And services will be copper.
the services are all going to be new water services. Every single meter that's out there is going to have its own new box, new meter, and it'll be directly adjacent to the existing meter, so that final time will be smooth. I did talk to David Loago. We're going to probably add several services on the lots that are being serviced in the back. There's some old lines and some of the alleys that are servicing some of those lots on that street. We're going to go ahead and put services in the front, prepare it. Now that we're opening the road, it's not going to be a big ticket item, so that we're there. When those go bad, you're going to have the service there. You don't have to tear up the brand new road that you just got. Yes,
Those
sir.
saddles on that pipe, will they be stainless steel or
Yes.
galvanized?
We
Stainless
we don't use anything but stainless steel.
Okay. That one.
Is that on the drainage line, where that little bridges?
Yes.
Is it gonna be boss culverts, or is it gonna be?
No, so the existing structure right now is the arch pipe, right? We're not touching those. Those are remaining in place. But the storm inlets that we're gonna be added, they're 10-foot storm inlets, are gonna be on the east side. And we're gonna also do a little drainage channel. You can see it on the plans. Will be RCP with 10-foot inlets.
Will they have wing walls on the side?
We're gonna be adding a safety and treatment that's gonna discharge to the south side, the downstream side of that structure. So we're gonna collect the water for where it all sits right now. And we're going to divert it on the downstream side. And then I'll mention again, when Mustang Creek project comes through, that structure will be replaced with box culverts. But in the meantime, we're going to be putting some safety handrails, safety rails on both sides, because I know it's a pretty dangerous situation. You know, cars can easily fall over at this point.
And that's all the way to Hall Street, no?
Hall Street, yes, correct. It's from Gulfs to Hall Street.
Gulf to Hall.
And at the intersections, we'll be improving some of the intersections, Baker and Stadium, to improve some of those maneuvers.
And you
Mr.
also.
Valina, can you tell the council where the money's coming from too?
What?
Can you tell the council where the money's coming from?
Jorge discussed it a little while ago where he talked about the proposed loan being paid out of the debt service. Remember, we did a bond refinancing where we structured the loan, so there's going to be some available money which we structured in order to pay for the pavement.
I just wanted to hear it too.
How long is the period of time for this contract? How long is this contract gonna?
Normally we go 30 to 45 days, and during that period of time, we'll probably get some stronger idea as to how many people are proposing. We hope to have at least 3 or 4 bidders. In the past, we have had more than that. The more bidders usually means a better price, but you don't know that for sure depending on how much work they have. We are looking in this project of doing the bid first, and then once we know what the bid is, doing a bank placement for the loan in order to pay for the project. And that project comes in to City Council for award. We do a bid tabulation just like other agencies do, and you get a recommendation from the engineer as to the soundness of the proposal, and then at some point after that, we would also bring the loan to the council for approval to pay for the project.
in all projects and in all loans that we do, the people that lend the city money do an evaluation. They go through our audits, they go through our financial statements, just like when you go buy a car or when you go buy a house. They basically look at what you have and whether you're capable of paying or not paying. If you're not capable of paying, they're not going to loan you the money. But if they determine that you are capable, then they go ahead and proceed. We have financial advisors that sit here and do the same analysis, and they go through our financial statements almost on a monthly basis to make sure that they see that we're going in the right direction. And so we get a lot of advice from different people who are experts in the fields that they represent. And so we're always very cautious to make sure that when we're moving forward, that we know we have that capacity and that capability.
Sir, will the gas line be an issue?
I talked to Juan, and Juan claimed that the cathodic protection on that particular line is good. And I believe in all the time that I've been here, I think there's only been one time that somebody actually claimed that they smelled gas. And we actually went in there and there was not a leak. And to my knowledge, that line does not have a leak anywhere in it. Okay. It's a cast iron. It's not a poly. Yeah. So I want to say it's a 2-inch that's there. And apparently Juan feels fairly comfortable. Juan Velasquez feels fairly comfortable that the line is in good shape.
Okay.
You did include the driveways and
Yes, sir.
and
At
the
every
lips.
one of the driveways that are in this limit, we're gonna be replacing, some of them are gonna have to be reconstructed because of where we're putting the utilities, but every single one's gonna be reconstructed with at least a 6-foot depth coming in from the curb, brand new, it's gonna be concrete. Obviously, we'd love to extend it all the way to the right of way, but it's not always the case. In this case, we're doing the 6 feet coming in. So every driveway will have a 6-foot entrance with concrete on the same exact width that you currently have, or the residents have.
What we want to make sure is that people don't construct something outside of the curb that then blocks the flow of water.
Right.
Because that particular street doesn't have drainage pipe. The street is actually the drainage channels.
Yes.
And so you need to make sure that it flows smoothly all the way across to get to the creek.
Now, this item is just being presented to get authorization to go out for bids. At this point, like Mr. Dolian mentioned, when we get bids, we'll make a recommendation at that point. That meeting, y'all will decide to move it forward or not, depending on how many bidders we get. But this is just to get it advertised, so you're looking a couple of months before we get back to that for award and start construction.
Maybe for Christmas?
Construction will probably be January, February, and I will say, for the council, just understand that anytime you do an existing street, you impact a lot of residents, not a raw land, so there's a lot of patience, but at the end of the day, you're gonna have a brand new road with, so it's just a little time. I'm sorry?
Any further questions for Mr. Martinez? If not, I need a first motion to approve item number 14.
So moved.
First motion by Mr. Gonzalez.
Second.
Second by Mr. Sartucci. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 15, discussion and possible action on a proposal submitted by SMB Infrastructure LTD to produce a new digital map with correct city limit boundaries.
During this past election, we had some concerns expressed by citizens in the community that some people were improperly voting because the map that was currently on file with the tax collector assessor had a street, listing the street as a city limits. And in fact, the street was not the city limits, it was the backyard of the properties. These properties and this annexation occurred many years ago, and there's no records
for us to go back and determine that these properties were in fact inside the city. And so in order to avoid further confusion, I asked Jorge if he would prepare a proposal so that we can go ahead and get an original digital map for the city outlining all of the boundaries that the city has, so that we can distribute it to all the entities and make sure that there isn't any confusion whatsoever in anybody's mind as to where the city limits are and where the city limits are not. You know, I'm very grateful that somebody brought up the issue. You don't know the issues exist until somebody tells you about it. And, you know, when they do, it's our obligation to try to correct them. And this is the fastest way that I know of to be able to correct those mistakes. All of the annexations that we have done from 2009 going forward have all been digital, and so Jorge can easily address those. But this one in particular was one that was done many years ago, and he will be looking at all of that so that he can turn around and create a digital map before the next city council election, something that the city can adopt and be able to give to other parties to make sure that our elections are considered to be valid, and we don't have people objecting or misinterpreting the maps. And I don't think it was deliberately done, but it was done, and so we want to correct it.
Do we have any knowledge as to where that map, or how that map got into this?
We did not provide that map, and I saw the map. It was shown to me by a citizen, and I concurred right away in looking at the map that in fact some people that were outside the map had voted. From looking at the map, I didn't understand how that confusion occurred, but I wanted to make sure that in the future that confusion did not exist.
Excellent. Councilman, any questions on item number 15? If not, I need a first motion to approve item number 15.
So move.
First motion by Mr. Satucci, second by Mr. Garcia. Juan Garcia. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 16. Discussion and possible action to approve a contractor's application for payment number 5 submitted by South Construction Management LLC in amount of $71,145 for the Cotulla LaSalle County Airport water main.
Typically, when we do a construction project, we bring it to the council. The council awards a construction project to a particular contractor. As a contractor makes draws, we like to bring the item to the council, even though you've already approved the contract, so that you're aware and it's for your information that the project is proceeding the way it is, and that in fact that we're checking and inspecting the work that is currently being done, so that you know at what point and how many draws we've done. And we bring these items to you more as an informational item so that you can see what it is that we're doing. This is a Texas Water Development Board project. After you review the item and you approve it, we then send it to the Texas Water Development Board. Their engineer then goes through it and he passes it on to their finance office, and then their finance office writes a letter of release of escrow to the bank holding the money that is being loaned to us, and then they send a wire transfer to the city. When we get the letter saying the wire transfer is coming in, we then cut the check to the contractor from that money that came in.
And this is payment number 5. Councilman, any discussion on that? Or any questions? Not, I need a first motion, yes.
How far are they, sir?
Uh,
Time-wise, I mean.
David, you.
What's the
where are you-
timeline on that water
you
main
think-
by the
you-
airport?
You think they're a month away?
Yeah, they're about a month, within mid-December, they'll be complete.
Yeah.
They're at 75% right now. The remaining portion is 12-inch line that goes to the engineer.
They,
So
we
they did the boring already?
Yes.
The boards are complete.
Yeah, and they already put up the fence at the school. We did do a change order to this water line, and we have a 12-inch water line that sits in the block that's on Engineer Lane and 97 where the school is. There's a 12-inch line there. The change order that we did with them was to bore across the street, which they had already done because it's a 12-inch line on the other side. But then it's an extension from that point to the new water tank that's in the back of the Public Works yard. And so they're gonna be doing that particular
They
work.
already did all the tie-ins already?
No,
Not yet.
not yet.
No. Okay. That'll be the last part.
We did put a stub out at the airport, 97, for future development there. And we did put stub outs at different places so that in the future, all we have to do is locate the stub outs and do connections to them so that we can expand the system as we go along, once everything is in place. Before the water line gets into service, it has to go through the bacterial test, and there have to be 3 negative tests in order for us to be able to get the line in. We have to have enough chlorine in the system at certain levels throughout the entire line as part of the process.
Those stub outs are also on the loop, on the new loop?
Yes, there are stub outs on the loop, there are stub outs at the airport. There is a proposal that the council approved some months ago. The airport is jointly owned by the county and the city. The city approved a lease, and the lease now has to be approved by the county, but there is a proposal to build a hangar that's in the range of $1 million at the airport for some new aircraft that supposedly are going to be coming in. And this water line helps that process.
Can I speak about the sampling real quick?
Sir?
Can I speak about the
Yes.
sampling real quick? That particular line is going into an area where we didn't have water of that much. That side's line going out to the airport. What's going to end up happening? The city does sampling on fresh water every month. We grab 8 samples every month, and when that's complete and we're done our pool of samples, our original pool of samples, I'm going to have that added to the state, and we're going to sample that one every month, just like we do it in many other places in the city. So it'll be on our sampling pool.
Now that you're saying that, do you flush the ends?
Yes.
Dead end mains are done monthly.
We are trying to long-range plan not to have ends.
Right.
And so we're trying to make sure that when we do a water line, that we don't have a water line that goes out to the middle of nowhere, because if you ever have a fire at that end over here, it'll suck the line dry because you don't have any other water coming in. And so when you put in the lines, you need to make grids so that you have constant pressure in the entire area, and you don't have those problems. And that's something that we're also correcting as we go through the process.
And last week we made a purchase of diffusers, so that when we flush the fire hydrants, we're not just throwing it to the ground anymore. It'll spray it out, and it's not destroying property or city property or anything like that.
That's good.
So.
Any other questions for Mr. Wright, or any other discussion on item number 16? If not, I need a first motion to approve item number 16.
So move.
First motion by Mr. Juan Garcia, I need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gonzalez. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 17. Discussion and possible action to approve a contractor's final application for payment submitted by J&K Utility Service LLC for Cotulla Chemical Feed and Water Main in the amount of $15,260.88.
That's for number 9?
Yes.
Yes, there was, on that project, there was two separate contractors. One was the driller, and then one predominantly did the electrical and site work. J&K was the contractor that did the electrical and site work, and this is their final payment for the project.
And this is the retainage on the project
Right.
that you're receiving after you approve the acceptance of the project.
Right.
Any further discussion on item number 17? If not, I seek a first motion to approve item number 17.
So moved.
First motion by Mr. Gonzalez, I need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Certucci. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. I need a 3-minute recess. Alrighty, moving on to item number 18. Discussion and possible action to purchase H-E-B gift cards in the amount of $40 a piece to provide to each employee for Thanksgiving.
This is something that has been done in years past, and it's up for consideration again, and it's the same amount of money that was done in the past.
Councilman, any questions on that? On item number 18? If not, I need a first motion to approve item number 18.
So move.
First motion made by Mr. Garcia. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Reynaldo Garcia. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 19, discussion and possible action to approve a $1,000 expenditure for the annual Thanksgiving luncheon for the city employees.
Again, we have an annual Thanksgiving Day service that is open to all the employees and to the council members and the mayor to attend, and it's been traditionally done in years past as well.
Have you set a date, sir?
I don't know what the date is.
18.
The 18th? And what time? So everybody's invited to come and be with the employees during that period of time.
Spread out.
Spread out.
Excellent.
What time was that?
12,
Are we gonna have plenty of hand sanitizer too?
yes.
Excellent,
We'll have masks as well in case anybody needs it.
excellent.
That'll be on a Wednesday, no?
Yes.
If there is no further discussion on item number 19, I need a first motion to approve item number 19.
So moved.
First motion made by Mr. Gonzalez, I need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Certucci, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 20, discussion and possible action to approve an expenditure not to exceed $2,000 to purchase gifts for the raffle of our annual Christmas employee luncheon on cover and coast to food and drinks.
Again, this is the same thing. We bring it every year, and it's in appreciation for the work the employees do. We do have a raffle of different types of items that are given to the employees, and this covers the cost and it covers the food as well. In the process, at your December meeting, you will have another item that basically deals with longevity pay that is given to the employees at the same time. So when you do the luncheon, you also give the employee a check for the years of service that they've actually been with the city.
Do you have a date for that?
No, I don't think so.
Councilman, any further questions on item number 20? If not, I need a first motion to approve item number 20.
So moved.
First motion made by Mr. Juan Garcia, second by Mr. Freddy Gonzalez. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 21, discussion and possible action to approve the purchase of a Peterbilt 348 roll-off through buy board for the amount of $162,582.07.
Typically, when we buy equipment, we have bought one other piece of equipment that was approved by council at a previous meeting. We typically pay cash for those items, and then we come in with a resolution, and we use a company by the name of Government Capital, and it's basically setting up an equipment loan that allows you to purchase and pay either on a monthly basis or on a yearly basis, so that your current budget isn't impacted immediately, and so it just stretches out the payment for you.
Is this an additional truck or is it replacing one?
It's an additional truck. We currently have a truck. I believe that it is about 5 years old. Typically, this type of equipment lasts about 5 or 6 years. When this item is purchased, the other truck, which is still very capable, will probably go into the shop, and we will fix some seals on it to make sure that we can continue to have that as a spare. What we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that we have backup. I want to repeat again for the community, we have done analysis of all of the garbage rates in the cities close to us, and we are the lowest city as far as a garbage rate to the community, and we pick up garbage twice a week. If you go to other cities, they pick up their garbage once a week, whether you go to Dilley or to Pearsall, and they pay much higher than what we pay. And this is, again, the reason we have this garbage service, and that we go through the trials and tribulations of operating our garbage system, is to benefit the community and the citizens in the community. Because if we really didn't care you know, we would just job it out and let somebody come in and charge you whatever they wanted to charge you, which is what typically occurs in other cities.
Councilman, any,
How soon will we get that truck, sir, after it's
I,
approved?
I believe they told me that the Rush truck, is the one that gave us a price quote, and that they currently have it on the lot. So we make the commitment, I'm sure we could get the truck, delivered fairly soon.
Or we're gonna have to hire another driver?
No, no, no.
No. Norbert?
No,
It's our- it's our backup.
We have CDL drivers, that are able to use the roll-offs. We wanna keep having the cleanup services that we have, in the community to give people a chance, to clean up. Some people, who have, old buildings, wanna knock them out. We allow for, those people to come in and, take their trash and put it into the cleanups. We use the roll-off trucks in order to be able to do that. I believe at the last cleanup that we had last month, we had something like 10 40-yarders that we did, which was an amazing amount of trash. And it didn't cost anybody any money, and the city took care of it.
We have about 5 now, CDL drivers, 4 or 5?
Yeah, we have about 4 or 5 CDL drivers, both in sanitation, and I believe we have 1 or 2 that are also in street.
any other questions or concerns on item number 21? If not, I need a first motion to approve item number 21.
So moved.
First motion made by Mr. Gonzalez, I need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Garcia, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 22, closed session. Text government and code and section 551 dot or decimal 071, number 1 and 2. A, November 3rd, 2020 municipal election. It is now 8:57. All right, we're back into the meeting, open session. It is now 9:21.
There was no action taken.
No action taken in closed session. Item 23, open session. The city council will reconvene into open session to discuss and take possible action on closed section item. Councilman, any discussion or any action needed in the closed session item? No? All right, then this item 23 needed no action. It is now 9:22. Item number 24 is meeting adjourned.